You don't have to answer this, bro, but like, who do you think won, man? As the host of the night, and I guess like the person that was the only sort of person who you could call a judge there at the night because you were in the middle hosting it all and stuff.
And being around battles for so long, you understand the atmosphere and everything. And
yeah, bro.
I'd say on paper, I'd say won.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kulture Show.
Let's go.
Hey, you're back again with Nate Six, LB, and Ray Polka. How are we, boys?
Oh, good, mate. Good. Yourself?
Bro, I'm fucking glorious. It's a Sunday.
Just making some quick adjustments. Sorry, mate. Yeah.
Bro, are you fucking...
Yeah, I'm good. All good. Yeah.
Good, bro. Man, nah. As I was saying, bro, it's a Sunday. I was CDOs this morning and stuff. You know, we had a big night.
We sure did, mate. We sure did.
Shooting Liam's first gig as Zoned In Media, bro.
Yeah, we did.
Shout out Frosty and Solana Collective, bro. It was a great night. They packed that place out. That was crazy.
That was crazy. It was actually a crazy night, bro. Huh? Nate doesn't like the loud music.
I don't even like doof music. You know, I was enjoying myself. By the end, I was like, alright, bro, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, the ears were ringing all the whole ride home.
Yeah, bro, I was like a child. I was like, my ears hurt, bro. Can we go home?
No, it was a good night though. Shout out to Frosty for putting that on. He actually killed it.
Shout out Solana Collective, man. Like, yeah, that's going to be a huge thing. They're putting on a huge rap tour soon as well, which his episode is coming out soon. We just had him on. He'll be able to explain that himself and stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, fuck, bro. I reckon, man. Like, as I was saying, I was seedy as shit this morning, and I was like, damn, this is going to be a bad seedy Sunday. I'm just going to be in the house editing all day.
Yeah, I know.
and then we got the green light from the bro that he's coming on. They can't see you right now, but they're about to see you, man. A true legend, man. And we're fucking honoured, bro. And we're going to get straight into the intro.
Let's do it.
He's an Australian icon, stapling himself in the scene as a true catalyst and OG. From hosting the famous KERSER first three... Let me start that again. He's an Australian icon, stapling himself in the scene as a true catalyst and OG. From hosting the famous KERSER 360 battle to being a battling legend himself and having music videos reaching close to 1 million views. And now entering the stand-up comedy scene, which you can catch him playing at Half Naked and Almost Famous in Footscray this Saturday. Here to talk about this and much more. I don't know how we did this, bro. But it's fucking Greeley, man. Make some noise. Hey, thank you for coming, bro. Cheers, bro. Cheers.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's an honor to have you, bro, honestly.
This is not a man. Crazy trip out, bro. Like,
it's cool, man.
Trip out, isn't it, Nate?
Yeah, I think I speak for both of us, man. When we grew up on you and everyone else, that really started this scene for us, bro. You know what I mean, bro? And so, like, for you to be here, bro, and on our show and give us the time of day to pick your brain, man, means a lot, bro. So this is gonna be a good episode, man. Bro. I'm hyped.
That's cool, man. You guys got a mad setup and
fucking shout out Marshall Street Studio, by the way.
Yeah, shout out and Matt Craig as well.
Yeah, shout out Matty Craig, $80 for sure.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I really like the way you guys do your platform, and I've had a few mates that have come through and done their thing. So
hell yeah, appreciate you, bro. Yeah.
Much love.
Yeah, shout out Eric Devine, by the way, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Bro, so what we like to do, bro, is we get into the nitty gritty and the cool shit and stuff.
Yeah.
But we like to go into the backgrounds, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean, bro? So like, give it to us from the start, bro. I mean, like, as cliche as it is, but we love to ask it, man. Like, where did you grow up, bro? Where did it start for Greeley?
Yeah, I was born in the States.
What? Whereabouts?
Yeah, I was born in Connecticut.
Word. Kentucky boy, true.
Yeah. And my father's family are all from like north of New York up through the northeast side there.
Word.
And but I came to Australia when I was about 2, and then I grew up mainly in the south side of Tassie, and then went back and forth to America a few times, and and then when I was about 18, 19, I started travelling around Australia.
Yep.
But so up until that point, it was mainly Tasmania, with a fair bit of back and forth between there in America.
Yep. And is that where it started? Did it start for you, the whole hip hop infatuation? Did that start for you in America, you think, or did it start when you started traveling Oz? Or?
It's still no. I was infatuated with hip hop before I experienced it in America, because I definitely experienced it more in America first. In a real world, you know what I mean? But like at school, people were rapping at the bus stop at school.
Yeah,
whereas
sick.
at school in Tassie, no one was. You know what I mean? A couple people listen to hip hop and listen to rap, but it wasn't like at the point where 10 guys in your class could rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you kind of had a head up over everyone in Tassie before they even were.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, well, like, but you know, I remember being fascinated with hip hop off watching Rage. In the late 90s, and then like Napster, Napster was like the first free download sort of illegal pirate
almost
software.
Like the first one.
It was the first one. It's the one that Metallica sued.
No shit.
It was like a big deal. When they got shut down, LimeWire and all that came in. There was a few other ones.
Yep. And then you just happily gave your computer AIDS, bro.
This was Napster was before the AIDS, and you could just find like Afro Man. Afro Man killed it off Napster. You could download that like Cold 45, and it was just called like Crazy Rap. I think the reason why that song was called Crazy Rap was because it was uploaded to Napster as Crazy Rap. And then millions of people downloaded it, and the song was more well known as Crazy Rap because of that than it was Cold 45. And so the reason why it got re-released as Crazy Rap was because of that, I'm pretty sure.
That's crazy.
Shit like that, you know what I mean?
And
and then I downloaded that, and that was where like I really discovered broader hip hop than what you could find on Rage, you know.
And who was those for you, bro? Like those people.
There was I was already I remember listening to Wu-Tang through Rage, you know, and you could buy Wu-Tang cassettes and stuff like that. And so I was probably like 8, 9 when I started buying cassettes. And fucking Wu-Tang was a big one. Beastie Boys was a pretty classic one.
So when you started diving deeper into like Napster and you started getting the sort of broader things?
Wu-Tang I kind of like went, it was Razel, because at that point I was really into beatboxing.
Yep.
So I kind of, Razel, Dougie Fresh, Biz Markie, you know, like all the classic New York sort of beatboxing era, as well as like heaps of just West Coast shit, you know, like all the Dr. Dre kind of, sort of era. But I listened to all that stuff, whereas the classic old school New York stuff was the stuff I was trying to do. You know what I mean? Because I already at that point wanted to do it.
So when you sort of were first introduced, like sort of yourself to this type of music and stuff, bro. And you said you were around 8 or 9 years old when you were watching it on Rage and stuff. Were you like sort of straight from the point, like idolizing that as like, that's sort of where I want to do, it's sort of, that's my dream. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think I was idolizing everything, man. Because I spent heaps of my time by myself at that age, like just watching TV. You know what I mean? It was the same with like, I watched Jim Carrey, you know, and then just be in my living room by myself, like impersonating Jim Carrey. And so the same deal, like I'll be watching these rap videos on Rage and be impersonating. It was, you know, like just kind of like, I want to do it all, sort of.
Just a natural born entertainer.
It was just, definitely. You know, like the 90s was mad like that. It was just, you know, the shit.
Crazy time, bro.
We only had like 4 TV channels, but fuck. Maybe that was it, because we didn't have much. It was just like the stuff that we had, you know, you watch movies like thousands of times, man. You know what I mean? But now it's just like...
So it's almost like that's why stars, like actual stars, were so much bigger then, I guess.
And not as recyclable.
Because nowadays, because of social media and TikTok, there's a lot more people getting their 15 minutes of fame, which is good. You know, everyone's kind of getting their slice, but nothing's sticking anymore.
Well, that's
you know
it. You can just be a cunt for 6 months and be the most well-known person in the world.
Literally.
As long as you've got an opinion that doesn't, you know...
That doesn't fit in with like actual society, and people are going to make a deal out of it, bro. Like,
man. So,
crazy.
You're right, there's definitely a completely different generation of... celebrities and entertainers and that, and as well because back then, as you know, people had to cut their teeth at a pretty hectic level. You know, like now, now some of the biggest rappers in the country are the least experienced. When it comes to performing, and you know, like
a song recorded on their phone, uploaded to SoundCloud.
That's it. And like it's interesting with Tassie because we've put so much effort into. Myself and like Dunners and that, we never made ourselves not accessible, and so all the younger guys got to really see us put the work into getting good in a live sense. And that when I travel, I can see, and I noticed this from an early age, like for example, even Melbourne compared to Perth 10 years ago, you can notice that the older generation in Melbourne weren't as inviting and as educating to the next one.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas like Perth had a higher standard of, like, even though there were less people listening to the hip hop from Perth, it was way higher standard of like practice, and the culture was stronger in that sort of sense.
Do you think
and
it
now
was
we're at a
because of
point.
that?
What's that?
Do you think it was because of the fact that it was like, as you were saying, there was not many listeners out of there and stuff?
Yeah.
So the artists that were coming out of there were kind of like, I need to bring my A game because the listeners are everywhere, like are elsewhere. They're not listening over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely that isolation breeds
Hunger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
definitely
man,
100%. And it's now like it's and as well because the scene wasn't as diluted, so fuck man, like. If you were caught doing something that people didn't agree with back then, everyone made a big deal out of it, like whether it be accents or like, for example, people rapping over their songs with lyrics on it. So many people
like
from my
generation.
so many people from my generation like hate that with a passion.
Yeah.
They get real triggered over it. Like, oh, you can't do that, whereas like you rarely meet someone from the new gen that isn't rapping without just their lyrics playing underneath
100%.
it.
And there is a couple of few that I see doing it. Do you know what I mean? That rap fast too. And you know what I mean? And it's like respect for doing it in this day and age. But it definitely is a much more accepted thing. I remember.
100%.
I remember like at 8 years ago, bro, when I first started making art, like even having your song in the background and not just the instrumental was frowned upon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nowadays you don't go to a gig without seeing it, which
Cool.
I kind of like it. It forces the artist on stage to put more of a performance on, I guess, because if they're gonna lack on that side of things, they sort of put more of but they put their energy into the performance side of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I get it, man. And I don't hate on it either anyway. Like, I think it's just, it is what it is. Anyone can do whatever they want. That's funny that and that's the interesting aspect of culture. If, anyone for any wave of any generation has tried to control the culture of the next one and be like, this, you can't do this. It's just going to do that harder. You know what I mean? It's counterculture. So, it's just funny to watch it grow.
We were just talking about it off camera how funny it is. You know what I mean? Because as we were just saying, man, like everyone in this room were watching you as you guys were all coming up in that stage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And to see that from that to where it is now, man. It's like as you said, the scene's like way more flooded with artists. It's way more of a media side into it now as well. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You've got your take flights and your culture shows and your stuff like that now. You know what I mean? And whatnot. What's that been like to watch, bro? From someone who was genuinely a pioneer from the start of it, along with KERSER and Dunners and all of them, like off the top of my head at the moment. You know what I mean? But what's that been like for you, bro? To someone who's still very active in the scene, to still sit back and watch it and be active in it too, to watch it grow and be a part of it grow.
Yeah, it's been cool, man. It's always been interesting watching media grow in Australia. You know what I mean? Like,
but even the scene in general. Yeah,
the scene in general. Well, it's just always caught up, and like with the hip hop scene especially, and then the media scene, we are like replicating, what they're really doing in America. So watching it kind of grow and become its own thing has been very interesting. The last few years.
Is it going how you thought it would? Like.
Yeah. I guess it is. Like.
You always knew it was gonna grow.
Yeah. I knew that. Like once Triple J, because I got to watch KERSER do his thing from a bit of a passenger seat of like being there for all his early gigs, and I watched him kind of be the first guy to go against the industry
and really rap battle with him and stuff.
And he really defeated the industry with his attitude,
He really bucked it. He went against the grain, and it worked so well for him.
100%.
Yeah, he really did it well, man.
It's like you said too. At the time, it's like if you were doing something people didn't agree with, they made a huge deal about it. You know what I mean? And for him to like happily, you know what I mean?
Take that on his shoulders and ride with it. Yeah.
And lean into that and that be his thing. You know what I mean? I guess like. It just explains sort of why he is at the status he is even to this day. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Especially at that time, man. But
he's definitely the one that like he pioneered, I guess, the internet generation of hip hop in Australia because 360 still had a massive industry support, and they had their clash, which KERSER kind of really used as his launch ramp, as well as everything else, because he'd really built his own, his own world, and as well. He was the first really fella from that Western Sydney vibe and style to come in and make it a thing, you know.
Massive, yeah.
And now, like, Sony and all those guys, they don't even listen to the music that they're signing half the time. They just want it to be from Western Sydney.
Yeah.
And they do say that. They do say that. They just want the trap stuff from Western Sydney.
Wow, yeah.
You know, I know artists that they say that too.
Wow,
you know?
crazy.
So it's like, and yeah, so that's just, and whereas KERSER wasn't allowed in the industry because he was that. So all of that's been very interesting. Like also knowing like the history of gangster rap in America, because the whole reason that gangster rap was pushed in a popular way in America by the industry was because of private prisons.
Right, okay,
and so the same guys that owned the record labels were the guys that were invested in the private prisons. So that's why they played Fuck the Police on the radio.
Yeah.
It was because it was to encourage gang crime and activity to get more people into the private prisons.
To make more money off it.
Yeah, so the Jewish people, you know, Jewish rich guys that owned both were cleaning up, you know what I mean? And
yeah, bro, yeah.
so, and then... So, yeah, if you look at the Australian music industry, especially in the late 80s and 90s, when gangster rap was pushed to a worldwide sort of platform, there was a little bit of hip-hop coming through before gangster rap, you know what I mean? But, yeah, still the people that own the very top end of the music industry in Australia are very, like, you know, the white privileged grandchildren of the guys that owned it in the 60s, when there was still a, you know, white Australia policy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same deal with all the TV side of it. They're very outdated, you know, definitely not multicultural. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The people that were in charge of the entertainment industry. And this is where you find, like, there is such an interesting comparison between Australia and America in that sense, because through media, we've always tried to keep up with them. You know what I mean? Like Australian TV, Australian pop music.
100%.
You know, it's always been a kind of thing to either fit in with England and the way they pioneered a lot more, like, you know, the 60s pop music and the Beatles and all that sort of shit. And then trying to fit in with the entertainment world, the Hollywood world of America and all that sort of thing. And then Aussie hip hop became a thing in the middle of it. And the only reason it was ever played on Triple J was because Richard Kingsmill, who's the guy that's still, you know, in charge of all the big decisions at Triple J, he said to a rapper in Melbourne, like, oh, all right, I'll play some Australian hip hop. I know I need to do it or I'll miss the boat. Yeah. Who should I play? And this fella said, oh, check out these two young guys from Adelaide, and that was Hilltops, you know, so...
Wow.
And that's where the Nosebleed section became the first song.
Yeah,
but so that, like, the reason Australian hip-hop was only ever played on a mainstream radio in Australia was because...
They didn't want to miss the boat.
Didn't want to miss the boat, you know what I mean? So...
Because
they don't, so like, and that's the same guy that's still picking the album of the year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
well, that's why it's genuine. It's genuine. Like you even see it happening in America now, since we're like making the comparison and shit. How many huge mainstream rappers and artists over there are now boycotting huge award shows like the Grammys and shit? You know what I mean?
It's good, man. That needs to die. Yeah,
just because it's even like rappers like Eminem and stuff will refuse to go now because it's just so some of the decisions they've made, especially in the last like 5 years, is just so clearly like. Fixed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and it's just all business. It's just disconnected from the culture completely.
Yeah,
it's the same with the Arias in Australia.
They've got no idea about any of the culture of the people that are running these award shows and stuff, man. Like it's
And they're just that middleman of the music industry just doesn't need to be there anymore. Like the curtain, like, you know.
Well, I mean, this is a record label in our pocket.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Man. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like 100%. There's no need for it. No. And these days they're only coming to artists once they've built enough traction by themselves on this phone anyway, majority of the time, where they know they sort of their investment is sort of already going to be guaranteed back in a way. You know what I mean? So it's a different world, man. It's a different world.
It is, man. And I see a lot of that shit just needs to die.
Yeah.
The people that control success, you know, and that's the Australian industry still is, you know, 3 big organisations, the radio that's owned by, you know, same with TV, and then the festival circuit and the music industry, you know.
Yeah.
And
which even it's funny you bring the festival circuit up. That's good to bring up too. That's even in Australia.
Yeah,
now we're actually finally selling out festivals with our homegrown artists, you know, which is even cool to see too. But it's like there was definitely artists back then that could have done it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's our cultural cringe issue.
Yeah.
And this is like, we'll lead back to that, the pioneer of media in this country. It was like, we want to fit in with America. We're the little cousin. You know what I mean? Like, and, and so we've always put American artists before Australian. It's the same with the battle scene, man. When the battle scene was popping, a big thing that killed it was like, everyone, like, you know, we'd be like, oh, we'll fly over someone from LA to
host it or something.
Do a
like
battle,
that.
yeah, you know. Yeah. And we'd spend all the money from the event on one guy from LA and making sure they had a good time for 5 days. And and there was like 10 Australian guys battling, putting their ass, you know, on the line, blood, sweat and tears, getting, you know, ready, and no one was getting any money because we were just like, yeah, but there's an American here. You know what I mean? And like, so Australia's always suffered with that. And it was always interesting to me, I was born in America and coming back and forth because I really just didn't give a fuck about America.
Yeah.
You know, I got that experience, like
you almost experienced that first before even the scene was even halfway developed.
Yeah,
anyway.
That's it. And even just as a kid, you know, like, I just remember, you know, even at school, everyone loved Sesame Street, and it blew me out, like how everyone just glorified the American one. You know what I mean? It just was really interesting to watch. Was that, sorry?
The Sesame Street.
Yeah, and just, but like every aspect, like, people didn't want to watch the TV show, you know, TV shows made in Australia. They didn't want to listen to the Australian bands. Just, oh, it's from here? Nah. You know what I mean? Like, just shit.
We had very limited popular Australian bands.
Exactly, yeah. We just didn't have the infrastructure for pop culture. That's it. We're always catching up, like, and now this is the thing. We've caught up, like, we have our own infrastructure for pop culture. KERSER is a good example of that.
100%.
You know, I think Rodney Rude is like a real good example.
Fuck Rodney Rude. I haven't heard that name in ages.
And he's a guy that, because back then the comedy industry was Hey Hey Saturday.
Even like Kevin Bloody Wilson, bro. You know what I mean?
Those guys had to build their own. And that, like, because the whole media industry was trying to fit in with America. They didn't want to put Rodney Rude on TV, you know. So these guys just did their own thing and they became bigger than the industry. KERSER's a good example of that too. They were like, oh, this guy's a bit fucking, you know, on the nose. We don't want to back him. And so KERSER went, fuck you, and became bigger than the industry.
This is the thing. Like, and do you, with you being someone who, as you said, watched that so closely, do you think he would be sort of he would be as big as he is and have this sort of legacy and iconic name to this day if it went the other way, if the media did glorify him and did love him and stuff? Do you think it would have been a short buzz and then die out, like you see with most things that the media actually put attention into? Or do you think...
you're right in the sense of it helped him more than it didn't.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
like it's
He wouldn't have bit.
He would have. He's a very determined fellow, so he would have found a way to fucking
one way or
do his thing. He's very persistent.
Fucking.
But you're right in the sense that they shot themselves in the foot. And you know, once again, man, you try and stop anything happening, or you know,
it's just gonna happen.
Counterculture went.
They try and put him on Triple J now, and he just says like,
fuck off.
They 100% shot themselves in the foot. But it probably did him favors and made his character look better.
And he's definitely taken that and run with it.
That's it.
And
then
he's a stubborn fellow like that. You know?
But it's fucking like amazing to watch though. Do you know what I mean? Because he stood staunch with it through the whole time.
Yeah, he's inspired me so many times.
But actually,
like, you know, once again, like this industry waiting line, and I see so many people doing it, and people that want to get into the industry, and they're forever like trying to create something to fit through the goalposts of, you know, what popular Australian music should be. And they don't even. This is the thing. The record label guys, they don't even know. They're trying to find out from other people what's good. What's trendy. We want to know. They
what's
don't know.
TikTok watching today? You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And so you got people trying to chase people that are trying to chase people, and then everyone's frustrated because
it becomes a crab in a bucket.
And, you know, the industry will go, here you are, album of the year. You can headline all the festivals. and you'll go, oh, sick. Well, I should probably put some money into my album for next year. And then the whole industry just goes, what album? And just completely doesn't support you. And you've just spent 150 grand.
Yeah, and you're not going to recoup either.
No one recoups, and then your dreams are over. You know what I mean? And then you're jaded, and it's a hard world,
it's a
man.
dark scene.
Yeah, I've met a lot of disgruntled drummers at bars and random rural towns in Australia that just hate Richard Kingsmill with a passion. I'll get him one day. That's it,
this
man.
drumstick is going right.
Yeah. It's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of victims of that industry.
Fuck Richard Kingsmill. Come on, say that, mate.
It's your show, bro. But it's just once again in a industry that's run by pretty much one umbrella that's the monopoly, you know what I mean? And that's it. There are a few people that have managed to do their thing and become bigger than it, and Kid Leroy, you know what I mean? He's a great example of he just went boop 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 and jumped 3 steps ahead of him before they even had the chance.
Yeah,
know, and there's ways to do that.
But here's the thing: I feel like he almost became so successful with it because, as you said, he got ahead of it before they could get to him. But because he left, you know what I mean?
That's it.
And a lot of people have a lot of things to say about that. But in reality, you can feel how you want. But it is the most smartest move he could have done. You know what I mean? Especially at the time. But we were talking with a mate of ours, an artist who was on the podcast recently, Gursky. And he was saying how he made a good point. How we think, especially in Australia, that era of grooming Australian artists for the States is over. We think Kid Leroy is the last one. Do you know what I mean? That we don't think a blow up like that will happen again. Do you know? But yeah, bro. But one thing I want to go into too, bro, is talking about the KERSER situation and sort of how close of a seat you had to that man. I know you probably talk about this a lot in podcasts and stuff, bro. Right. But I want to touch on the KERSER vs 360 battle, bro, because I want to get into the behind the scenes on the back end of it on your end, bro, because you hear a lot about KERSER side and 360 side, bro, but you don't hear a lot about your back end of the story of the dude who was right back, and also copying straight bullets as well from both of them, bro. Do you know what I mean? You know, bro. First question, I'll start with that, bro. Is how did you end up in that position? First of all, bro, and how did you end up to where you were hosting sort of the biggest battle at the time at the moment?
That was two battling to hosting that, you know.
I mean, Rob's put it the best way, bro. It was you know what I mean, and Liam talks about it a lot as well. You know, it was the lads versus the Metros. And you were in the middle, and you were you know what I mean.
I was Switzerland.
But how did that?
From here.
White flag.
Yeah, it was interesting, man, because I met KERSER. I wanted to battle 360 for years, man. Because
obviously you had your battle with KERSER before all that.
And 60. I battled 60. I met KERSER March 2010, and then I did 10 battles across the country over 2010, and then I battled 360 in December. And because KERSER and I, we became mates at that first event, and it was pretty much because there was this guy called Decoy that was running Got Beef Battles. And I kind of got, and he was running it with that Keynote fella. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And Keynote disappeared after he lost his battle to 360.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just went...
MIA.
Yeah, MIA. And,
360.
And I went to an Adelaide event for Got Beef, and Decoy, he was really struggling running it. And I had lots of experience putting on events in Tassie growing up and doing my thing, so I was just like, do you need help? And he was like, yeah. So I just kind of helped him run the event. And then over the next few, I was like helping run a few of them. And and then when I battled 360, Decoy wasn't coming, so we flew out Lush One from California. And Lush One's still he was on No Jumper.
Yeah.
So he hosted my battle with 60.
No shit.
And then pretty much Decoy just fucked everyone around. He ended up doing some weird shit and being a bit of a catfish on the internet and talking to underage girls and all sorts of shit.
Oh, word. Okay, no shit. So
he kind of got run out of the scene. And then I just kind of stepped into hosting events, and it was underneath Grind Time Australia.
Yep.
And so that was through Lush.
As soon as you say that, bro, the logo pops in my head.
Yeah, man, it was a thing, eh?
Yeah,
and,
man.
And then we put on like 3 or 4 events with this other fella, Gav, his name was, and I just came in and hosted it. So and it was cool, man. Because I remember hanging out with Curse one night.
So
probably
were you the one that actually put it together?
It was like
because Curse wasn't even allowed in Melbourne at the time, was he?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, he was meant to lead the state.
Yeah.
But it was this fellow who runs a thing called 420 Superstore now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're speaking to him and stuff. Yeah.
It was me and him, and I hosted it all, and he booked the venue.
No shit.
And
Yeah.
But like that battle was like had been waiting to happen for 2 years. I remember people talking about it. So it was just a matter of being the ones to do it. You know?
That's why it was just such a build up.
And there were talks. I think there were talks back then of like Decoy wanted to try and do it, and another league wanted to try and do it. But both 60 and Curse were like, "No, we'll do it with you guys."
Beauty, because you already had the relationship with the both of them
and we were
already,
just putting on. The events that we were doing were just filmed the best and had that sort of, the vibe that was popping at the time.
Being I guess at the time the mediator between both parties, both 60 and KERSER, and being sweets with both of them. Yeah. Was it like a tense fucking week or two, bro, when it was like nothing like that?
They both knew what they were doing, man.
Yeah.
I think there was moments of tension between them before and after at different times.
Word.
Yeah. There was times
because they know how serious it actually was. You know what I mean?
There were a few times that fucking.
Because I saw his battle against Zoned Out, bro, and I was like, "Hey, that's serious." Like,
You know, I was there for all that too.
Yeah.
But like
Switzerland again.
It's
we said catalyst in your intro for a reason, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Like, Curse definitely doesn't let anyone really get away with, anything. And, and 60 definitely pushed the line a little bit too far. And I think Curse had to pull him up a couple times. 60 went, okay. And that's about it. You know what I mean? It was, they were all good, and, on the night, they both were just like, they didn't want to judge, and
bro, what was the go with that? Because that's something everyone wonders, man.
Well, once again, man, like it just would have been left to 3 people, and you know what I mean, and it's always different in the room on the night, You
don't have to answer this, bro, but like, who do you think won, man? As the host of the night, and I guess like the person that was the only sort of person you could call a judge there at the night because you were in the middle hosting it all and stuff.
And being around battles for so long, you understand the atmosphere and everything.
Yeah, bro.
I'd say on paper I'd say 61.
Word.
When it comes to like counting punches and technicality in the schemes, shit. And for just my personal taste of it. Yeah. But KERSER alphaed him. KERSER, if you know how lobsters fight. Lobsters don't fucking actually like touch each other. They just suss each other out. And then one decides that it's more of an alpha and the other one realises it's less of an alpha. And the one that's less alpha just cruises off and withers away a bit. And then the boss lobster just cruises off and gets all the...
I won.
Yeah, gets all and then gets all the other lady lobsters and becomes a victorious lobster.
But one lobster says to the other lobster, "I'll take your iPhone, your wallet, leave shit." And then the other one walks away, basically.
My dad told me, your dad... He's a lobster faggot.
Bro,
KERSER lobstered him, man.
KERSER lobstered him. In a crab in a bucket era, KERSER lobstered him.
Well, I've always thought that KERSER won for that exact reason,
And it was...
And I always think, he came as well into Melbourne. He was outside of his comfort zone and still like alphaed him, still stood the ground, and I was like, I got to give him respect for that,
And you have to understand that what 60 had was such a priceless spot. Like, the reason that I kind of got, like, my first, like, big part of getting attention in the Australian hip hop scene was through battling 60.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just through battling him. I said all the shit that everyone wanted to say. And it was because he was the Australian hip hop darling. You know, like at the time when he got accepted into the scene, he got accepted by Brad Strutt and Tram and Uncut Recordings, who were like the lords of street rap. They were street rap.
The OGs.
Yeah. And like, because when Obese Records came and Lyrical Commission went separate, and Obese became the industry, the radio, you know, the pop side of it, Hilltop Hoods.
Yeah.
And then all the straight cunts were like, no, fucking Lyrical Commission, the raw cunts.
Yeah.
And then Lyrical Commission and that were like, we're going to pick, you know, the chosen one. And there was going to be between Fatty Few and 360, Fatty Few from Geelong. And they ended up picking 360. And
I saw your thing with him. You put him in bias. Sorry, just signing in the room for the first time in years. Yeah.
Fatty Few's a king, man.
Yeah.
And then they picked 360 and they put him on Uncut Recordings, and he had this track, and he was the chosen one, man.
Yeah.
Like every up and coming rapper in Australia wanted that spot, and 360 was the one that got it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so everyone wanted it. You know, like it was the talk. And then only a couple of years later, he becomes friends with Pez. He starts releasing all this, you know, festival like pop rap.
Yeah.
And it just like pissed off Australian hip hop so much, man.
Because he was like one of the first ones to, like 60 was one of the first ones in the hip hop community to start releasing records that weren't just focused on what's it called, like a verse, hook, verse, you know what I mean? Like he actually started doing melodics and blah blah blah. And that's where he started getting called a sellout and stuff. And
yeah, there's definitely other people that were probably doing the same thing earlier.
Do you know what though? Do you
like
know
Draft copped it heaps, man. Draft copped it like everyone's like, oh, you're a sellout, you know.
But do you know, like, I don't know if you agree with this, but in the most recent day days, you know, I think sort of, I don't know if he used the same remedy to sort of get big, but he definitely, the come up is very similar to 60s, is especially with the way he started to the music he's making now, is like Illy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the radio play and stuff like that, to what he was making at the start, to then like sort of record, and this is no shade or hate to Illy or anything, this is just using it as an example, but then to records like Tightrope and stuff, like radio pop records, do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like the same sort of remedy in a way, you know what I mean? Which is almost wild to sort of see.
He strategically was trying to make pop music.
He
He definitely was.
Yeah. And like, you don't think that was a label thing, or?
360 wanted to make pop music, man.
Yeah.
You know, he had tracks about, like, he had a song called Rookie that was on his mixtape with Pez, and it was all about Brad Strutt and Tram, and he said, you know, I realised, you know, I was stoked to be rolling with you guys, but I realised that I'm not a staunch cunt, and that's not me.
Well, yeah, shit.
And then he hung out with Pez, and, you know, when, you know, did his thing, and realised that was suited him more.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because he'd been this chosen one by Lyrical Commission, the whole of Australian hip hop and they wanted him to be that hard cunt.
Wanted the street side, and he kind of went, nah, I kind of want to be that side, and everyone,
and he had such a raw style of rap. Yeah. And I remember, like, his track was like, you want to step up, you get your neck cut, you know, it was just like raw shit. And then he was like,
damn. Picture 60 talking about that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, there's videos of him looking staunch in a singlet, rapping like that. Like 16 years old.
Yeah. Because he started with the American accent way at the start. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
early days, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So much of the scene were like that. You know?
Yeah, bro, how do you feel, like, on the side, how do you feel about that? Like, especially in this
it makes me cringe, because half my family's American. You know, and I've had times
and you don't even
like,
do it, bro. You know what I mean?
No,
you're probably the only one that could get away with it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but oh man, it's, you know, it's just, for me, it just makes me cringe, because I know it's not a real accent either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can pick it if it's a real accent. And I can generally pick whereabouts in America you're from, you know. So when I hear a forced Australian one, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I battled a guy the other night, and he had real intense.
No.
Yeah, but it's full on American accent, you know.
Well, he was just putting it on, like
Yeah,
freestyle.
yeah. It's
Whoa.
interesting. Well, I don't blame a lot of, like, he was black as well, and a lot of black people in Australia that don't identify with Australian culture, which, like, one of my good mates, Promise, he's an absolute legend. He's a really dope rapper. Shout out to Promise. And he's from Kenya, and he came to Tassie when he was, like, 10, you know, and he grew up in, like, you know, northern suburbs in Hobart, full of bogan fucking racist cunts. You know what I mean? They were just like, oh, you're fucking black, are you? You know what I mean? And so he just listened to Nas and watched Dave Chappelle, and you know what I mean? Like, that's all he consumed.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's not going to speak like, g'day, mate. You know what I mean? Like,
Of course, because that's not even though he was in Australia, that's not the culture he grew up on. Because
well, and
it wasn't
like,
inviting to him either.
Yeah, and then it wasn't inviting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a very absorbent person. If I hang out with anyone from any culture, if I like them, I'll absorb a part of their, you know, the way that they communicate.
I'm a big
And-
believer. I'm a big believer, bro. In like everyone, we sort of. We pick a little bit, and even it's subconsciously, it's not even on purpose sometimes. We pick a little bit of something of everyone that we know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you take something
100%.
away from everyone, like some sort of trait or something.
100%,
Like you see something like, you see someone, I don't know, even a small thing like pour a drink a certain way. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, that's the way you fucking, even if you don't talk to that person ever again, that's the way you're pouring your drink for them. You know what I mean? Like,
It's such
Storm, bro.
It's so interesting, man. Like, I've got a mate who's like, he grew up an Aussie hip hop head in the early days, like 2000 era, and now he's a videographer for SBS, and he's made documentaries in Nepal and like all sorts of
no
crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then like he came back from somewhere around the world, and he heard my mate that I was just talking about, who's, you know, Kenyan Australian, I guess.
Yeah.
Rapping, and he has this American accent. And my mate, who's very worldwidely travelled, went, hey, why has he got that fucking accent? Mate? He's not American. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was interesting that this guy still had this weird little like old Aussie hip hop, like,
Even though he's travelled the
he's
world.
yeah.
He's been cultured himself.
Yeah, he's cultured himself in so many ways, but we still, snap back to this like Australian. You know, like,
As soon as you're back on soil, bro, Australia.
And so I definitely resented a lot of Australian people rapping in American accents, but like the interesting thing is I've definitely, when I hang out with fellas like my Kenyan mate and he's talking in an American accent, it's so natural to me. Do you know what I mean? Because
you're used to it now, you've known him for so long.
yeah, that is, but like, I don't know, like, he's not doing it out of fakeness. You know what I mean? Like, and it's how he talks, it's how he raps. You know what I mean? Like, whereas a lot of the Aussies that do put on the American accent,
They just rap like that.
and that's where I'm like, I can hear it. You
It's
know
almost
what I
like
mean?
as soon as they step out of the booth, it's back to Australian accent.
Does he still have an accent behind him though?
Like, he talks with an American accent.
Like fully? Like
Yeah,
you couldn't
fully
tell
all the time.
difference?
Like Remedy.
No, it's no difference between his talking and rapping.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he's, you know, he just never identified with the bogan cunts that he grew up around. And just like, and he's just, like,
I suppose almost like when they're not.
I'd say he's African American.
That's
but
him.
he's-
That's him. The way he actually is.
And which is a shit term anyway. You know, like, and that, but that's once again how much our psyche's based off that country through media. My mate Promise has never been to America, but he'd probably say I'm African American. You know what I mean? Like, it's our psyche. Once again, because this is where cultural cringe lives in Australia, because our culture that we grew up around is just fucking Australia. You know, like, it's just not
Bro, I'm
involved.
gonna put up Australia account.
But it's just not inviting, man.
Nah,
Like,
100%.
I hated it. Like, that's why I identified with hip hop. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely.
as a cunt with white skin in this country, we just had no cultural aspect of like, just fucking cricket and drink it. You know, like,
Vegemite singers.
and if you didn't just become a tradie, become an alcoholic, and get in a fucking terrible marriage that you don't want to be in. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. It's our parents' generation. You know,
100%.
there's no other way to live.
It's like if you don't, you're going against the grain.
But that's it. Like, you know, the '90s generation of Australia, there was a massive just disconnect and just once again latching onto American culture. Even like look at Silverchair compared to Nirvana. You know what I mean? Like it was so many elements of us trying to recreate
even
it.
in excess,
like,
you know what I mean?
It was everything just off Wish. You know what I mean? Like
Silverchair and Nirvana were like at the same level.
Oh man, it was fuck. They were to like
true.
They were to your average like grade 5 kid who didn't know. The year 2000. Fucking nice.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's real interesting, eh? Like that's where our cultural cringe lives. That we don't have our own identity
this is the thing. I don't even feel like we have our sound yet because of the fact that we keep trying to copy elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? Even when the sort of UK drill became a big thing, boom, you saw it here as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're always
Trap's a big thing. It's big here. Grime is big thing. Big here.
We're always taking something. You know what I mean?
I think as well though we do put our own twist on all of those things.
I was going to say the most refreshing side of hip hop in this country to me is what the mob are doing. You know what I mean? And people like Lil Incubi. I don't know if you've seen Lil Incubi.
No.
You guys got to check him out. He's like 11-year-old rapper from WA.
No shit.
I think I have. I
know exactly the blonde hair. Bro, that little kid is spitting, bro.
I think you've shared him a couple times. I have seen him.
I couldn't even speak that fast when I was like 11 years old. Bro. This kid is like in front of a crowd too, bro. Like with full confidence, like spitting, like actual like. Bro, sorry, continue. It freaks me out, bro. Like,
Incubi's the shit, and it's like
he's gonna be a star, man. Like,
that's it. He already is, and he's got that Noongar swag, man. Yeah. And hearing that come through, I was up in Darwin. I went to the National Indigenous Music Awards, which was crazy, man. And being there at the Nemas, like Yachty Indy was there, and like all stars, all you know, were all there, and Barker performed, Kobe D performed.
Kobe's sick.
Yeah, most of the people that were winning, it was all hip hop, you know. And this was also like on the hip hop anniversary for the 50 years, you know. And so,
of course, which recently.
It's the same weekend, man.
Who were those guys that we saw perform that time at that Urine Boy gig in the city?
Oh, that was a.
You went to Urine Boy.
I played at Urine Boy with Yambra.
Yeah, man.
Because I've got a couple of songs with him and stuff. That was a crazy experience.
Crazy,
man.
And like Philly as well. He performed as well. There's some crazy artists that come out. It's honestly like, and they're so.
Actually, Kobe D came out for Urine Boy as well. He did. So did Nookie. Nookie came down as well. Yeah.
He was up at the Nemas.
Oh no shit. Yeah.
They're crazy. I reckon they're just like. They just do their own thing, and it's just, I don't know, it's very refreshing.
Bro, that's like, it seems to be like...
He does like a whole comedy, like, little skit about each song, before each song. And like, it was, do you know what I mean? Like, he's got
he's talking about...
freedom, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, he's telling him a whole, like how he fucking, what's it called, stole the PS2 when he was a kid and shit. That's what that song was about, you know what I mean? Yeah, bro, like, Yeah,
man. What they're doing with the movement is, like, the realest shit. Because I've got a few old school mates. My mate Tons, he's kind of like, you know, he's nearly 50 and he's part of that generation that founded hip hop in this country. And he was over in New York for the 50th anniversary.
Wow.
With like, you know, the founders over there. And for what hip hop was created for, which is really empowerment, social change and community. I see what the mob are doing in Australia with it to be the most purpose-filled aspect of, you know, I saw... the event Nookie put on January 26th in a museum in Sydney, and Barker was on stage, just like, you know, on that date in the museum. Bro, and that's just the most realest shit. Like, I see, you know, big names that do come and go, and like, there's always going to be talk of like hype, who's the popular one, who makes the most money, who gets the most views, who's got, you know, this and that, who's flexing with the most material shit, who's the most successful in which country, you know, like, we care more about what other people in other countries think about us than we do think what we care about each other.
100%.
You know, it's
crap in a bucket.
And everyone cares about statistics more these days than the actual raw talent, I think.
Exactly, There's so much raw talent in the street, man.
Oh, it's
you know,
ridiculous.
And,
you know, a lot of it gets overlooked, and that's one thing that I like. we give out roses here, like give it to you. You're always around, up and coming artists, and you give a lot of props to it. Like, I've seen you doing some stuff with Riley P, and then what you guys doing with correct me if I'm wrong, the Darwin connection or whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh man, that's exciting to me, bro.
Yeah, like I love seeing that stuff, and you like really. Yeah, that's why you're such a pioneer, and
thank
like
you, man.
you've been from the bottom and you've come all the way up, and you've seen everyone do their thing, and you've done your own thing, and then you're passing on that knowledge to the next people, and it's really refreshing to see. Cause,
it keeps it interesting, man, because that's it. Like a lot of it hip hop moves so quick, and it's hard to keep up with and actually like track it half the time. So people don't realize, But to me, man, it's exciting at the grassroots. Once everything gets too professional, people are more worried about statistics, numbers, about money.
Takes the fun out of it, bro. It becomes a job and shit.
It really does, man.
Yeah.
Well, going back to like your own music, like I mean, you got a lot of features on your albums, and that tells me you love doing it with all these people, and it's not just about you and the money.
Culture,
Yeah, I mean, like a big part of like connecting with hip hop was feeling lonely, and it filled a void in my life. So I'm not going to do it to feel more lonely.
Yeah, fucking oath, bro.
And that's like, I see, each to their own. Whoever wants to do whatever, anyone wants to do whatever they want in regards to how they kind of move within the culture or use it for their life, And so many people have empowered themselves in so many ways. But yeah, I have to stick around and stay connected to the culture in some aspect.
Yep, 100%, bro.
Whether it be, I find that way more rewarding is always fostering the youth and trying to like plant seeds there, because once again they're just like still operating at a pretty selfless, like the music's for the music. They're not worried about trying to become successful artists.
Yep.
They're not worried about who's got more Instagram followers, or just any shit
But
like that.
that's the wildest part to me. The actual talented fucking artists who are like who have crazy talent are the ones that, as you said, like don't care about statistics, aren't trying to make nothing of it. They just do it because they love the art. But then the ones who, do you know what I mean, aren't really making that good of art, or sort of, do you know what I mean? Just putting in their music what they think will sell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a hustle.
Bro, definitely.
It's just monetizing it, and I guess like, is capitalism fucking
bro,
and art meant to be funneled through the same funnel,
exactly right.
It's always an interesting one, because once again we're at a point in the world where we're wired to capitalism, you know what I mean? Like,
I know. And
people get turned on by cash.
Yeah, but that sucks. Because I strongly believe artists should definitely see the fruits of their labor. Just like every other job. Yeah. But it shouldn't there has to be like a system around it to where that's not what the industry is now driven by. You know what I mean? Is cash. Like you see so many artists take a deal just for the quick cash grab, and now they can't release music for a year because it's in their contract. You know what I mean? Bro. So
I know guys that have signed a 10-year contracts. They can't do anything that they want to for 10 years.
And just completely shelved after the label's done with them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I did that recently. Well, not recently. A few years ago, I signed a contract. They brought me in, nice white table.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, I fucking made it all fancy. Brought me in sparkling water. I'd barely went through it.
Yeah.
And then just nothing happened like after that. And then they were asking for money off certain tracks. Luckily, I was able to get out of it, but they toy you in. Especially like a young artist.
Yeah.
Going up in a nice business.
Probably flash big numbers at you.
A whiteboard, doing nice, we can get you this. They give you what plane you want to fly with, what service.
Real?
Fuck, I wouldn't mind Qantas.
Is it first class or what?
Exactly. Here to Queensland first class.
Business card. 100%.
That's hectic.
Bro, did you have like any fucking shitty experiences with labels and shit, bro? To where do you feel any certain way about them, bro? Do you know what I mean?
Man,
like
they're definitely like. It's funny because what I do,
demons.
Yeah, what I run now is I've had a few experiences. I was signed to Obese Records at the end of it there.
Of course,
and, and another experience with a kind of independent label. But and it's because I run a sort of hip hop platform that's like a hip hop crew that it's so interesting because so many young people get very confused about it. Where it's like, it's literally, if you've got a good video clip and it's standard, we'll upload it and we'll push it.
Oh, no shit.
It's
just a platform where you're just uploading it.
It's
no
all
shit.
it is.
Yeah.
We don't really charge. We don't charge. You know what I mean? Like literally, like $500 to put your video on this channel. We're just like so long as it's good enough.
Shit,
And like generally, we've put some pretty average stuff on there.
Fucking oath, bro.
Because we're more about the community than we are trying to be like our content stays at the. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's so funny because then, you know, the young kids that they look at the other kids that put a video on, they think they've been signed. And, you know, it goes through all
it's
this.
inspiring though as well.
Of course, bro,
and like, bless these kids that have grown up in the burbs in Tasmania. No idea about fucking the music industry at all. You know, or YouTube even. Like, so many people these days don't even know you can just upload to YouTube yourself. Like, it's such a mainstream thing. They're just like, you got it on the YouTube, you know, like, and that's to them as much as it being on TV. You know? And so, yeah, I've had some pretty shitty experiences. A lot of like shug whites, I call them, just like white Australian guys with no talent.
Yeah, they think they're shug knights.
And they come in, they're just like, all right, we'll start a label. They're usually drug dealers. They're people that have that bit of social power, and they're like, if I can organise getting 5 talented people around me,
I can launder all my money.
Launder all my money, and then get all the women, and I'll be the man, you know?
Fucking
We try and get everyone to do it, but we don't tell anyone. And then everyone just ends up doing it. That was so funny.
Oh yeah, because we'll go 1, 2, 3. This motherfucker on purpose will be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone watching at home, we just had a little smoko and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we've been building porches all day and shit. So we're just on smoko. No. So, bro, because we're just yarning out there on smoko, bro.
Yeah.
And I want to go into it. So I know you did some time in jail, bro, and you've spoken about it a bit, and Dana's got into you about it a bit in the last battle and stuff, bro.
Sure.
And I want to like obviously go into it as much as you're all comfortable going
I'm
into
happy
it,
to talk
brother.
about anything.
But bro, so like what it actually, because I know, and obviously we'll go into it further on, but I know you recently posted a picture with the bloke.
Yeah.
Recently, so it's all patched up now and stuff. Bro. So do you want to go actually in on actually what happened? It was the Republic, was it?
Yeah, the Republic Bar in Hobart, which was just the main pub in North Hobart for, I know, 20 years. It's where Dundee's dad used to own it, and it's where we gigged and spent, you know, most of our time for a good part of my life. And it was 2016, I'm pretty sure, October 2016, maybe November. Can't remember the exact date, but yeah, I was at the pub. Went outside. There was a fella outside the pub tagging the pub. We got into an argument.
Because you're like protective over the pub.
Yeah.
You graph yourself as well.
But I was just protective of the pub, really.
Yeah, you're like, if anyone's covering it, it's me.
Because I've been putting on shows for 10 years too, man. Yeah. And it's always my mates that fucking tag the pub, and then I get into full arguments with my mates because I have to hit them up, and I'm like, go fucking paint over it, dickhead, you know? And unfortunately, I did say to the guy before we got into a fight, like, it's not, you know, don't be that guy that breaks the straw, you know, sort of thing. Yeah. But unfortunately, I wasn't in control of my emotions enough, and I lost my shit and ended up bashing him and, like, broke his jaw in 2 places. Wow. And then, and then he didn't go to hospital, and it ended up turning into a pretty nasty infection. So a week later, he went to hospital and got induced into a coma for a while. Smoked cones instead of going over the fucking head. That's it. Yeah, and he just didn't look after himself. Yeah, and it's interesting because I've talked about it all in detail with him now. Yeah, but So and then I finally went to prison for it for 2019, pretty much for the whole year, and then fuck man, the amount of stuff that's led up to me going to Darwin. Recently, which is where I ran into him. But I ran into him on the anniversary of hip hop. On the 50th
so this happened
birthday.
in Tasmania and you ran into him in Darwin.
On the anniversary of hip hop.
Yeah.
Bro, what the fuck?
Which also was like very unique as well.
Really, you are chosen, my bro.
It was all very divine, man. Yeah. Like, it's the best way I can explain it. And it's definitely like, you know, I'm not religious, but it was a sense of God or the Spirit has, definitely woken me up in that sense of, if you
definitely
fully
put your feet in the grass, bro, for sure.
Yeah. If you truly listen and follow your intuition and trust the process and have faith, and you really just have to honor everything in spirit. And once I started doing that, especially honoring the country with just the experience of my journey where I'm at and understanding, I've dived deep on all these sort of, because I wasn't born in Australia, I was born in America. So all of my unique parts of my journey that have added up to who I am and where I'm at, I've really gone to the deep end of understanding it, And it weirdly led me to Darwin of all places, which I've never really been before. I battled there 10 years ago, and then I got offered a job up there, teaching kids in the detention centre.
Sick.
In Dondale with Riley P.
Wow.
And,
wow, shout out Riley P again. Yeah.
And so that was where I went up there. And then everything just started happening. It got to a point where it was so overwhelming I couldn't help but cry, because it was just unbelievable. But that week, I'd manifested wanting to meet up with Barker and have a big yarn with her, because all the kids that I was working with up there in the community centres all really looked up to her. She's she's so strong and so amazing at what she does.
Especially like with her words and even the way she said, she's on record too, bro.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse. Absolute, so strong,
Yeah, man.
And these kids I was working with, amazing kids with such beautiful energy. They looked up to us so much, and I wanted to, try and catch up with her and get her to meet these kids, and
beautiful,
use what I could to be the glue in the situation and make it all happen, and it all did. And then I went out to the show that Barker was performing at with Kobe D at this venue in Darwin, and then boom, I see the guy whose jaw I broke 7 years ago, and I looked at him and I was like, "No, true." 'Cause I just
Here we go again.
No, but he looked at me like, "Oh, true," and he knew it was all.
You better go to hospital this time.
True. No, it was really good, man.
Yeah.
Because he had his own crazy journey.
Yeah, of course he would have.
And because he's from Cairns in Queensland, and so he went to Tassie on a crazy mission 7 years ago, looking for a vision. And he reckons he had that vision in the coma.
Wow.
And so, and I had some other crazy shit where, like, in the last few weeks, I can't really say much about it, but one of my mates that I made when I was in prison and I helped turn his life around, he was a massive hero in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He actually was one of the strongest thing I've ever heard anyone do. It was him.
What did he do?
I can't really go into it. But
so I just got so fucking.
You're right. Yeah, maybe off the air, but if I had never been in jail and never met him and had the impact that I had on him, he wouldn't have been out of jail.
The ripple effect, bro.
Just all these sorts of things. So it was interesting when I met that guy. He said, we both said we're sorry. Because he was a very anti-systematic guy, so he didn't like it that I went to jail. He was like, "I'm sorry you went to jail," and I was like, "Nah, man, it was really good. I went to jail. One, I think I deserved it. Two, it was actually good for me. Three, I had a positive impact and helped change some lives of other people that have had a positive impact since." In ways that I couldn't even imagine. You know what I mean?
It's like how you captioned the post, bro. The first sentence you put is, "I told you everything happens for a reason."
Yeah, it really does.
Bro, and that blew me away, man.
It really does.
Yeah.
And for those that know me, you get to a point where it's so overwhelming that you just can't try and convince people.
Yeah,
and it's a bit too much.
It's like they'll see one day anyway, man. You know that anyway.
That's it.
Yeah,
100%.
It's like for a fact before you saw it like that. Yeah. You know that no one else would have been able to convince you. You had to see it for yourself and realize it for yourself. It
was a big wake up. Seeing him especially, that week, and even I think the night before, I was chilling with Barker and I was telling her the whole yarn about all these steps that have happened from when I was in prison to where I met her, and just her strength and since when I started following her and the impact that she's got.
Yeah.
And the next day I literally, after I saw the cunt, I went up to her, I was like, "Hey sis, that's the fella whose jaw I broke." And she's like, "What?" The one you're talking about last night. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like it was just, yeah, it was crazy. And there were so many people there. I don't really know that well.
It's like you feel manifested.
Yeah. Like Nookie was there.
But
and,
like the timing of
like,
it too, like the 50th anniversary, like you finally set up the thing you were trying to do, getting Barker to meet these people that were looking up to her and stuff. And And then all in that same time, bro, it's like, okay, the universe or the spirits or whoever it was, bro, was and like, okay, now boom.
Closure, you can put that to closure.
And then the next night, I was at the National Indigenous Music Awards, the NEMAs, and Barker's performing to 5,000 people, and she gets down off the stage and she's in that pit in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
And Barker puts her microphone in the crowd, and this little girl called Shane, who's one of the kids that manifested meeting her, is the one kid out of 5,000 kids that then starts rapping Barker's song on the mic. It's on live TV.
Bro.
And this all happened like in the same weekend.
That's crazy.
I was on the side of the stage crying.
Happy.
That was just so powerful. It was so amazing.
Fuck.
It was really like, words can't express it.
Right, that fucking, man, that's crazy, bro.
And it was through this big process of going up to, Larrakia country and just really listening and honouring it and going to all these big events. Just not wearing my shoes, just keeping my bare feet connected onto the ground the whole time.
Bro. Yeah.
And just allowing, like, it felt like, just so much healing. All this shit came up and just got out, and then.
Well, they say, bro, as well, like, especially, like, being confronted with that bloke, like, you know what I mean, out of nowhere. They say too, bro, when you're on that journey as well, they say everything has to be brought back up. Do you know what I mean? In order for like to let the good shit back in. Do you know what I mean? Like
it really is,
100%.
And you can spend years not looking for it, but if you go looking for it and you trust in your intuition, just follow the signs. It'll fucking, you know, the amount of things that led for me and that guy to be at that one spot, you know, 7 years later to have that moment. And to also have the level of understanding where we both needed that closure.
Yeah, both being at that same level at the same time, and just
that's
crazy.
it.
Yeah, bro, that actually blows my fucking mind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like one of those stories you're just like, what? Like,
you almost don't believe it.
It's just
like it's like fucking. It's so crazy, bro. Like
it's kind of like your story with Tommy, like that one. We've already spoken about it, but like that same sort of thing. It's just like what? It's just like no way to explain it, you know?
Yeah, bro. Like I'll make a long story short, bro. But basically, like I grew up very religious because of my grandmother. Yeah. So every second, because my parents were divorced since I was a baby, every second weekend when I go to my old man's, he lived with his mum, my grandmother, and she would take me and my sister to church every Sunday, every second Sunday when we were there. Basically, it was like we lived in housing commission flats, so there was like a little makeshift church at the bottom of their housing commission flats, and there was the pastor, I guess you'd call him, the guy that would run the services and stuff. He'd also cook a barbie for like all the people in the housing commission and stuff, like before doing the service and shit, so everyone like would get a fee in that. And like we got, like me and my sister, like as kids, we got used to going up and seeing that every Sunday, you know what I mean? Every second Sunday. And then as I got older, around 13, 14, left home and stuff, and I stopped going to church because I stopped, you know what I mean, going to my dad's every second weekend and stuff, and disconnected from that side of things and shit, you know what I mean? And then maybe it was last year, my very good mate of mine, Tom, shout out Crocodile Tom, by the way, but he's very religious as well, and he's stayed religious his whole life, and I was going through a tough time, and he goes to me, come to church with me, Nate. And I was like, fuck it. At this point, I've got nothing to lose. I was in a very dark spot of my life. You know what I mean? So he's like, at this point, I've got nothing to lose. And this was in North Richmond, these flats that I was living in, right, when I was a kid, right? I don't know if you know. Do you know where One Turner is? So One Turner is maybe like hour and a half from North Richmond, right? Yeah. And I was living there at the time when I went to a church. We just Googled a random church in the area, One Turner, went to it, right? On a random Sunday night, we go to this church, bro. I walk up, and it's in this big hectic building on that I'm not used to, like modern building. I'm not used to a church van. I'm used to it being, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you know what I mean? We walk up to it, bro. And as I said, we got used to seeing that same dude, the pastor dude, that cooking the snags and shit, right? Walk up, same motherfucker's there, bro, right? Yeah. My brain, bro, and this is maybe 10 years later, you know what I mean? Like he's just there. My brain wigs it for a second. I look at him, I'm like, fuck, there's no way. But as I'm walking into the actual building, he's like cooking the snakes. He looks at me, he goes, I know you. You recognise me, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like 10 years later, bro. It's
100%, man.
Yeah,
and that's
like
God,
shit you
bro.
can't explain, you know what I mean,
that's
bro?
God. It 100% is, man.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
It's the greater energy of what you tap into, you know.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, like, my whole family broke up due to, like, church politics issues, all sorts of shit.
Wow, yeah.
Because the root of all my family trauma came from religious disagreements, blah, blah, blah. And, so, yeah, I struggled with it for a long time. But what I've realised is that, we need to separate the literal sense of the language around it and the religion and all the human shit.
It's just spirit.
It is spirit. And when you've tapped into the ether, whether it's the laws of attraction, whether it's God, whether it's, whatever you want to call it, like, it's, it's greater than all of us. But once you tap in and honour it, and live with it every day and practice that gratitude and choose to listen and go, actually, I'm just going to go here, boom, 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 do something. You'll get that sign that goes, no, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And if that's all you need at the time is just to have that moment of like,
Speaks back to you in those sort of ways.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep. It's,
For me, in prison was the first time that I finally let go of the chip on my shoulder against religion and all the abuse and all the pain that came from the religious side of my life, because all my trauma led back to the church, But once I finally let go of that, and I'd go into church and prison just because there wasn't anything else to do, and you get good coffee satchels, and I watched
praise Jesus.
and I watched the prison priests staunch these young, staunch cunts that were there just trying to, take the piss out of him.
Yeah.
But he's staunch them with love. And, he wasn't trying to convince them this or that. But just whatever they tried to, push against him, he'd somewhat give them love and defeat them with it. And I was just like, this cunt's a gangster. And I watched him, work. I was like, these cunts don't want that smoke. I just walk in, just ready to watch him just fire these cunts out with love.
No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Yeah. And he had a way to, give and make them feel understood as well. He didn't shut them down, And I really was inspired by that. And then I read a book and then, in the last few years, it was interesting. I had moments where I got close again into kind of embracing it and understanding it. And it's something, there's so many different elements to it. But once you actually do let go of all the bullshit and you actually have faith, so many people bring you down. They try and snap you out of it.
Yeah.
The rest of the world's just like, hey, no, it's just coincidences. This is,
Yeah. But some things, bro, you can't just wipe off as a coincidence.
No.
And us as humans, we can't say it's God or it's this or it's that either. But bro, as you said, when you take religion and everything out of it, it's something, bro. You know
it's
what
a
I
universe.
mean? Exactly.
And universe means one word, universe, one word, God.
Yeah.
And this God means I am. You know what I mean? And in Latin, that's what it means.
Word. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
So it's the power of creation. When I say God is the creator, it's like when you say I am going to do anything, you're going to create something, And so it's just understanding the energy that keeps us all connected. And I think, once again, if you honor it, we get so caught in trying to argue, and I got to be careful when I'm talking about it because I'm definitely not trying to argue about it. But I just feel that we need to look at the things we've got in common rather than the walls in between it. And
definitely.
As long as we don't put the human ego before the greater good, which is God, that's what it is. We should be able to figure it out.
At the end of the day, 100%, bro. Yeah, definitely, bro. Fucking oath. That's sick, bro. I definitely we haven't spoken a lot about religion on this show. You know what I mean?
It's a pretty personal thing, eh?
Yeah, we spoke about it with you'd know Frosty.
Yeah.
We spoke about it. We had Frosty on recently, and Frosty's a very religious man. We spoke about it a little bit with him and stuff, But,
for sure.
But yeah, definitely, it's like I don't know, man. I feel as though there's not enough people who are open enough with their religion, or even if they're not religious. They're not even open enough with that, giving their thoughts out on that. Do you know what I mean? Where it used to be a normal conversation at one point, I remember in my life. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
I've never been like religious or anything, being brought up not religious or anything, and I don't, like believe anyone, like probably can cut that out or whatever. But like,
well, everyone's allowed their own beliefs.
Yeah, like, but I definitely think there is definitely something, a greater good of spirit sort of thing that like there's something else that like at play.
There's energy.
Energy, but vibes and everything. You can read people off the like body language of the vibes, the way that they are. You walk into a room and if someone's angry, you can instantly tell.
All code.
Like, it's all just
it's all
moon
code.
Literally affects like the ocean, bro. You know what I mean? And we're like 70% water. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, bro.
It's like it's interesting. Like God is love as well. You know what I mean? Like, and like for me, when I was like working in the detention center, and I'm walking in there with some dangerous situations, dangerous kids, and in my head I'm thinking, if I lead with love, which is walking with God, and
it's like you wouldn't be put in a situation you couldn't handle. Like
perfect love
handle.
conquers all fear. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how scary it is. If I lead with love, I know I'm safe.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know God's got me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like,
It's
kind of like, but it's so interesting because I was triggered by the language. Like I don't want to say I'm walking with God because I was like, it's Christians. I don't like Christians because they've done this and done that, and pedophiles and this and that. All this like anti-system shit just got in the way of it. But now that's the easiest language for me to. But I've had like crazy spiritual experiences with something that's definitely not a Christian God at all.
It's like it's weird. Have you seen the Book of Eli? The movie, the Book of Eli. Yeah, bro, isn't it? Yeah, so it's just like a guy and he's like walking.
He's blind,
you find that out at the end. Good one, it'll ruin it. No, but it's just a guy. He's like walking through like the apocalypse and that, and like he's protecting a book, and he does all this stuff that's like not Christian. He kills heaps of people and all this sort of stuff. But like and then you find out at the end of the movie, like he's blind and he's being shown the way by just believing. You know what I mean? Just believing, letting yourself 100% go and just believing.
Just trusting the process.
It's all about like God and stuff like that. But it's just such a good movie, and it's just it's actually true. But even let yourself go and be happy and stuff.
Just the storyline still like can apply to like not just religion, but just what I mean, just trusting the process in general. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, fucking oath.
I think it's definitely it's a present moment thing in that sense, and I think all that all that sin is definitely baggage of this world. You know what I mean? And there's like manifestation. We all know like right now we can manifest whatever we want. You know what I mean? And we have access to the future through that power of like manifesting it right now. And in the same sense, like I don't think God works in the past. You know what I mean? Like. Especially with this whole, you've done this, like it took me being in prison around some of the most debaucherous humans to have that, to finally like let go of all that. Because when you realise that you can't really judge anyone, I think it's a very, because only God will judge. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
a very powerful thing.
Like, and when you're in that situation when you're being morally confronted by the people that you have to be around, which I got in prison, especially it was around some of the worst humans on that island, And I finally realised that I just had to accept the situation, and I couldn't sit there judge, or I'd be just in double prison, not only in jail but in the prison of my own judgment of other people around me. That was something that made me just understand the concept of it, and it clicked. You know what I mean? Because it's an interesting one. Because
it's also too, bro. It's like you're the one at the end of the night who goes to sleep with your thoughts. You know what I mean, bro? Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And praying to God's a lot nicer to go to sleep with than the reality.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
And if that's all like what it is a survival technique for the reality. And it's all good,
If it's gotten humans this far, bro, you know what I mean? Thanks,
Fully,
yeah, definitely, man.
It's interesting, eh?
It's very interesting, bro. Ain't going good. Ain't going good. Amen. Yeah, bro. I reckon, bro, I want to touch on something else, man.
Yeah, we gotta get into this.
Bro.
Touch on your comedy, mate.
So, man, so you've like done everything there is to do in the Oz rap scene, and now you basically just said, okay, let me just take over the Oz comedy scene. Like, what's going on there, bro? Like, let us in. So you're playing in Melbourne this Saturday?
Yeah, I'm playing at Almost Famous Half Naked, or Half Naked Almost Famous.
Half Naked and Almost Famous. I know the joint.
Footscray.
Yep.
7 p.m.
Yep.
And I've got a couple mates, a couple fellas that are living in Melbourne now that I know from Tassie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, my mate Rajat and my other mate James G. Warren.
Yep, shout out.
Yeah, but it'll be good, man. I started doing it about 6 or 7 years ago with my mate Lewis Spears.
Oh, shout out Lewis Spears, by the way, bro.
Yeah, big ups.
Funny as fuck.
Yeah. And he's got a new chin, man. He's got a brand new chin.
Really?
Yeah. He's got this fucking hectic alpha chin now.
Oh,
Fuck
I thought you meant like he actually got a new chin?
He's got a new chin. You won't say it, bro. It's got fucking so much authority. It's like the staunchest.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. So like, you got
He's got a
like
new chin.
yeah, you got like chin reconstruction or something.
Yeah,
Like
you got-
yeah.
you
I
got
don't know
his-
if you meant like he's just more confident lately. Like he actually got a new chin.
Chip on his shoulder,
Right.
he's got a new
he's
chin, yeah.
like,
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm scared to see his chin in person, man. It's fucking hectic.
I was wrong.
He had to get it was for health reasons. He had his chin was his jaw was too small, and so his throat was too small. So we had to get it full extended. So he
Fuck.
looks like a different human, man. I'm intrigued to see him in person.
He's such a giraffe too, bro. Like he's so big and lanky, man.
Well, I mean,
Like-
you wait to see him this big with his chin, bro. That's what I mean. Like he's like 6'10", and now he's just like 3 times the in with the chin, bro. Yeah. So, but yeah, I got into it with Lewis, man. I did a full national tour with him in 2018, just before I went to jail, and I was meant to do another one, but I was in jail for that. So I've always wanted to kind of do it at this level, and I'm just pushing it and learning.
We're
Can I ask
fucking coming,
can I ask
bro.
a question?
brothers.
What's the nerves, I guess, or what's the feeling like compared to like either performing as an artist, battle rapping, and stand-up comedy? Like, are they all different energies? Are they all different
They certainly
experience?
are, yeah. The battle, yeah. The comedy's kind of the hardest one, I think, because it's the one that you have to contain yourself the most. You know, when you're doing like a rap show with beats, you got to put, you're exerting that energy. You know what I mean? You're jumping around.
Your energy has to go with the joke, though. Sort of
Yeah,
thing.
that's it. And so, and because I've been doing that the longest, that's the least excited thing. It's not until I get on stage and the beat starts that I actually start having fun.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not even nervous, And then a battle, it's kind of like move between that. I get nervous, but I'm more like when I battled Dundee really recently. I just felt comfy. I just felt
what
so.
a battle!
And like, man, like I only really prepped my shit 3 days, like before that battle, and kind of like, because I had to host all the other battles, and I went out into the car park and went over my shit, and then still flipped heaps on the spot.
Bro, what was it? I don't want to
like-
argue with Post Malone's bogan
Yeah,
quote.
we had fun with it, man. It was hard fucking preparing for that battle, man, because we were living in the same house.
But I was in my head, bro. I can't even lie. In my head when I'm watching it, like I'm picturing you to, like pause.
With Dundee.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna run on, bro. Like what I was picturing when I was watching that battle, bro, because of the fact that you live with each other, is I'm just picturing like you two in the living room, just fucking alright. At this point, you come in. You know what I mean? Just imagine, like I'm just picturing that shit, bro.
Yeah,
like,
no, we didn't prep together, man.
because like some of the like rebuttals that you had for each other for, I'm like, okay, maybe not. You know what I mean? Man. Because we're speaking to him.
We both knew like we knew the angles that we were coming with.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you know that you were both going to give each other like your roses as strongly as you did in the last round,
we did,
bro? Because that
yeah.
was like that shit put like that shit made my head sick up, bro. That was sick to see. You know what I
blessed,
mean?
bro. It was like because we're good mates. We've known each other thick and thin, ins and outs. So I said, I'm going to come at your country music and come at your tattoos, and that's it. You know what I mean?
All right,
and then the rest of it, he was prepping at his house. I go down to the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but honestly, I didn't get really much time to prep until 3 days before the event. But me and Dunners, you got to understand, we've freestyled together for like 15 years. We've battled each other like 30 times. We've rapped together on stage. We know each other like ins and outs, every backup, every lyric, Yeah. Even at the end of that battle, we blew out how much things lined up perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally, bro. Yeah.
And
That's why I said I thought you two were
we'll-
like sitting there, like, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
It's the same energy.
Yeah, but like, if you watch, we've done 2-on-2 battles where me and him have battled 2 other guys, and they've spent 2 months prepping and practicing, and me and Dunnels will be like, all right, what are we going to do tomorrow? All right,
Bounce off
what does he
each
look
other.
like? Oh, this way? Yeah, you say that, I'll say this. Yeah. And then, like, even in the battle, we'll be like, stop, and then, like, doing more freestyles and, like, man, we've just vibed for that long, man.
Yeah.
And we grew up in that era of where you really had to know the craft. Like, I did a freestyle battle the other night at the laundry and haven't done one in years and just got up and spanked this fella. It was great. You know? And it was just like, that's right. And there was heaps of fellas there that, you know.
What are you number 2 at the moment on the rankings? Of the
Bro,
Yeah.
Eric Devine in the top 5,
Yeah,
bro.
shout out to Eric
Let's
Devine.
Go,
Yeah, fucking oath,
bro,
yeah.
for real. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro,
But
it's really
I saw it because I saw, and shout out Chaz, but like we have mad love for Chaz, like
Yeah.
you know, the Kulture Show, bro. But I saw his ranking went down a little bit, right? And his comment, man, made me laugh so hard. He just goes, interesting with those little 2 eyeballs. Jesus, I was like, oh shit.
Oh, Charlie.
Bro, but it's sick to see it coming back so strong, man.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what
good,
I mean,
man.
bro?
And I
Like,
think this freestyle tournament with battlerap.au is going to really bring it up.
yeah.
We've got the
Someone actually
semi-finals
putting
this
money
Thursday.
into the battle rap scene is good to see again. You know what I
man.
mean, bro? Yeah.
It should get a lot of people talking about, a lot of attention. The next 3 months is going to be, going through the whole country,
Fuck yeah.
sussing it out. And in the meantime, man, I'm just going to keep like pushing and connecting with the scene and encouraging heads to really put themselves out there because, the battle rap, like you have to build it. The reason why our generation happened was because I was 20, 21 putting on events. You know what I mean? Like you have to get out there, get out of your city. Australia is very small, you know, and we were from Tassie, we were from the smallest spot. You know, everyone was like, oh, Tassie doesn't have a hip-hop scene, and we put on our own shows in Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, just kept going and going and going.
Even Eric was telling
connecting,
me.
you know.
Yeah.
Eric reminds me of like one of us from back in the day.
Because he said when he went up there to perform with you guys for the first time, like all you boys up there when he went up there, he goes, the venue was absolutely packed. He's like just because it's such a Tassie scene, everyone in Tassie supports it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly,
like,
man. Yeah, we don't have too much of a hierarchy in that sense. Like if you're a part of the culture down there and you're, you know, a legend and you put in hard work, you'll be someone in the scene. Like,
hell yeah.
There's no gatekeeping, you know, and there's a bunch of like cooked units that don't do anything and think it's a secret club and all sorts of shit. But really, like THC
they
is
actually just don't work for it. Sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, THC is just a do-it-yourself thing, you know, and like big shout outs to Grace Chia and Hermit. Those guys hold down all the live gigs now. They put on an open mic the other night, and absolutely packed out. And it's on the same night. There's a big show in Melbourne at the Laundry with, you know, big interstate rappers, and no one's there. Yeah, and it's because we've really built our culture off that personal connection. You know, everyone that comes down blows out. Lockie Hamill's the other, like...
Lockie Hamill's crazy,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. He's kind of like the heart of the scene down there now.
Yeah.
And he's really put himself to become that kind of number one guy that works on all the, you know...
Because he does everything too, doesn't he?
Everything, man.
Yeah.
Does it all.
Because is it... Correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's one of the... I'm pretty sure it's Lockie. I know it's one of the Tassie boys are putting together a Tassie artist-only album.
Yeah, so that's nearly done. THC album.
Yeah, producing it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, Eric was talking about it when on his episode here.
100%.
Like, fuck, man, the work rate over there is crazy, bro.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Yeah.
We've got such a high standard of it, man. And Lockie, like, did his degree at the Conservatorium of Music, and then, you know, came out of that and then started his own studio in the middle of the city. He's made, like, something like 80 video clips in a year and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, this album features over 50 artists, including not just rappers and DJs, like saxophone players, guitarists, keyboard players.
Tassie born and bred.
Yeah. Because you know, he knows them all from the con where he went and did the music. So it's
that's so gnarly, bro.
Yeah,
I'm keen to see that.
Yeah, we've built up such a strong community, bro.
Yeah.
And especially in these times where the Instagram generation, so many people are becoming mates through like, oh, you've got this many followers, I've got this many followers, let's be mates. And then 6 months later realising that, you know,
they're not compatible at all.
Yeah, there's no solid foundations, and, you know, people fallouts or people pretending to be friends still.
Cloud ships, bro.
Yeah, cloud ships. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I just made that up.
You heard it here first, guys.
But, you know, Tassie's kind of like, if you're in Tassie for clout ships, in hip hop and Tassie for clout ships, it works itself out real quick.
Yeah,
because you know, we've built such a healthy scene of once again, just getting it done and putting the actual work in above any of the other shit, because it's too small to get like too big for your boots.
Do you think that's why you and Dunners work so well together? Because behind all the music, you're mates.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And me and him have been through it, like, because we were the two off the eye. Like, when I was young, Dunners was old, 3 years older than me. He was in like the coolest band in Hobart growing up.
Like Battle of the Bands. Sort of
Yeah,
thing.
Like his high school band won all the Battle of the Bands.
Fuck, yeah.
It was him and his
Like, had
brother.
a hectic local buzz and shit.
Yeah. Dunners was rapping, his brother would rap and sing, and they had like a full funk band. It was a vibe, and it's called Unleash the Nugget. And they tour and shit, and so like, and then his dad owned the pub, the Republic.
Yeah.
So then I'd go, like, I was 15, going hanging outside the Republic, watching Dunners on stage through the window with his band, rapping to a packed pub, and I'm like, oh, this is Tassie hip hop. This is like real rap that's happening here,
Yeah.
But then, and Dunners moved to Melbourne to like try and get into the scene there, and he was doing gigs at like the First Floor in Fitzroy, but it wasn't really.
Is that even still around?
Don't know.
Yeah,
not
I
sure.
haven't heard of.
Yeah, and then that wasn't going anywhere. But then the battles kicked off for me, and just before I battled 360, I was living in Brisbane. Said to Dunners, come up here, you got to battle with this shit, and that's when he kind of got into the scene up there, and.
The KERSER Dunners battle is iconic as well, bro. You know what I mean? Like, which is the first time I saw Dunners as well, Like,
yeah, for sure. That would have been, So all through that time, me and him were kind of like, climbing one ahead above each other at the time and then pulling each other up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, instead of pulling each other, but trying to pull each other back down so the other one can get on top.
And we've been through it all, man.
This clout now, sort of thing. And like, you come join it, and then he's got, I've got this now. You come join that.
Healthy clout shit.
Yeah. But then also we went through the dark side of it too, like where we were signed to a label, and then he had a disagreement with the label, and I was still signed to them, and he left, and I was like, where does that make us? So we went through all these trials and tribulations that you have with a good mate.
Yeah.
As well as, two rappers that are trying to chase their own dreams, but they're ones
Trying to bring each other
together,
up as well.
and that's the beauty with me and Dunners. We've been through it all.
Yeah.
And nothing can break us, because
oath, man,
we're like, we got all that ego out of the way by the time we're 25. That like, if him and I have a clash in any way, we can sort it out like that. Which is that's the beauty of it, because. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. This industry's savage, and so many people will turn on each other over so much petty shit. That's what kind of pushes me to be like community orientated, especially in the hip hop scene, and try and keep it positive and focus on the good shit.
Fucking
because
oath, bro.
Yeah, if we all let all that sort of stuff, and once again, the hip hop scene comes with a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, and a lot of people that are trying to validate themselves externally rather than do the healing. They're just, they're actually kind of just dragging out the healing process for the sake of their own creative success. And then and then they get caught up in what's that?
No, I was like, I felt personally attacked there.
Man, it's hectic, bro.
Yeah.
We've all done it, man.
No, of course,
and that's an interesting thing. What are we doing it for? Like, if it we mix, our art and our creative process with capitalism and monetizing it is where we can get lost. Yeah. And that's where there's nothing worse than being depressed as an artist, trying to project something that you're not actually are as an artist.
Yep.
It's the worst shit ever.
100%. Well, it's
your creative expression is meant to be your freedom.
Exactly.
Not your prison.
Exactly right. Because it's like if you go in the studio and you're set to make a song or something like that, but if you're in the studio and you're depressed at that time or something like that, and you're not feeling good, and you try to make a happy song, it's gonna show in the final product anyway. Do you know what I mean, man? Like, you can't fake music either. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so that's how you tell sort of, well, like you can, but it's like
you can.
shown.
I've made music when I'm faking life,
but it kind of shows though in a way. I'm not saying like personally with you, but when people like. What's it called? When people try to fake that emotion, like even like me personally, bro, like back in the day, like when I would write my record before going into the studio and stuff, if I was like depressed in that moment when I was writing it at home, but then I was like happy when I came in the studio, bro, you wouldn't
Wouldn't get into it.
It wouldn't feel as good as the song did in my head when I wrote. You know what I mean? You know, you almost
can't embrace it.
Yeah, you almost can't fake the emotion. You can fake the song, sure. Like you know what I mean? Anyone can like sort of fake smile, I guess. You know, but I guess it really, with music, man, like, it really shows in the end. You know, especially
100%.
Especially with the healing aspect, man. So if there's someone in there who is just in it for the money and the clout chips and shit like that, it does stick out pretty quick in the hip hop community in general, you know, because it's like most of us are here because of the healing aspect. You know?
Definitely. So, I think you know a big part of the hip hop scene is mistaken identity of people that are like, you know, I see it's really interesting because quite with a lot of young guys that I see really trying to do something in the scene, and they get so stuck and caught up trying to project what they think people want to see, you know, and I'm the type of person who'll be like, just be yourself, brother. Yeah, it's all good. Like, just let go of it. It's all good. Just be your authentic self. And it's hard because a big part of so many of us as artists and creatives want to be liked. We want to be validated by the world, and putting ourselves out there is a very vulnerable thing. Oh, yeah. You know, and that's just why we all get caught. Like, if anyone that puts themselves out there, you know, it's once in a generation you get that one cunt that truly doesn't give a fuck, and then they end up becoming the biggest thing, you know, because they don't actually give a fuck, and they just wander through, they get the whole world's attention, and everyone's like, oh, it's an artist of a generation, you know, like, you know. And
perfection.
And they are the ones that never gave a fuck.
Yeah,
like,
100%, 100%, bro. But it's a fucking it's a skill in itself to not give a fuck, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
It's almost like, and even I've met some people, bro, who tell themselves and other people around them, like, you know what I mean? I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I got thick skin. I don't even fucking. I'll read the comment section, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Bro? Like, all that shit. But then it's like those same people, like, have their fucking comment section now turned off on their videos. Sort of thing, you know what I mean?
You said the one said, I don't give a shit. I'll read the comment section. It's like if you didn't give a shit, you wouldn't read it. Would you?
Exactly right.
Oh man, we've all got our, you know, our own definite level of like scoping it out and saying what it is, you know.
100%.
It gives me like you know, like those hate comments give me like a fucking drive.
Yeah, 100%.
You obviously don't give a fuck if you can put yourself out there at a comedy level as well, where you're in the spotlight and everyone will think that's you. Yeah,
that's the whole. If you bomb in comedy, you bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where you have to have freedom and you have to have no expectations. Man.
I got one question though. What with the two scenes? Like, I don't know if you got a lot of like comedians around you, like when you're going into this, but what the two scenes, the hip hop scene and the comedic scene, sort of thing. Like, what are they? Is everyone sort of like in the comedic scene helping you, bringing you up, sort of thing? Is everyone more inviting, or is everyone more standoffish, or like?
Definitely two different sides of standoffish. Definitely two sides of inviting as well. I've met some fucking legends in the comedy scene that are just cool cunts. I love the unique people, man. I was always mates with everyone at high school. Like, love the nerds, you know what I mean? And like, if you're a quirky, cool cunt, you're my mate. And you do find those sort of people in the comedy scene as an adult. There's some hell weird cunts. And a lot of them find me real confronting, and they're like, "Oh, you've been to prison," and you know, like, I can tell a lot of them look at me through that lens, which is cool. You know, I don't hold it against them. But comedy's it's interesting. Comedy's like, I say, comedy, they're more authentic about themselves because it's like hip hop, or you know, especially this age of trendy rap. It's very easy to wear the mask. It's very image based. Whereas,
massive.
You know,
you just tattoo 6 comedy over your face, and you know what I mean. Like,
And that's where I'm enjoying kind of coming into the Australian comedy scene, being who I am, is because there's no one else like me in it. You know what I mean?
Very, very unique.
And so. That's just what I get to be. It's just uniquely me.
Fuck
you know,
bro.
And that's hell cool because fucking.
Do you think everyone's uniquely themselves in the comedy scene, or do you think people put on an act?
There's a lot of people in the professional industry, ABC-esque style comedy that are very like formulaic. Same with like successful Australian music.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's people that are trained to do stand-up a certain way, and now that I've done it for 6 years, I can generally watch people and be like, oh yeah, you've been trained for this, and you can tell when people have done a radio course where they've been officially trained how to speak on radio, and then you hear that in their stand-up. And then, like, so when I do new material rooms, I'll go in there and, like, 8 out of 10 comics are there, like, working on their material, and they get up there and they're like, oh, how about the internet, eh? And, like, you know, and it's this formulaic kind of, like, they're trying to do what they think, you know. And I watch...
almost robotic in a way.
Yeah. Well, I watch my battles from 10 years ago, and I see myself doing that with American battles. It's the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, and like anything, you get good when you stop trying. You know what I mean? Like, you got to learn the skills to do it, but then you got to stop trying to be someone else, stop trying to be that, and, you know, just be, stop caring about
from what you want, but then just not care and just
exactly,
let yourself go.
And allow that skill to grow, because that's it. That's once again you're doing the mistaken identity. You think you have to do the things, and you know, once again, trends. People can wave trends. You know, ride traves. Ride the waves of trends for generations.
Right,
you
traves.
know? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, and it will work. But like,
traves, bro.
Eventually, those people though, then they get weirded out though. Eventually.
Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, definitely do.
100%.
100%.
But it's interesting. I love just watching it grow. And yeah, I'm just at a big point where I don't really give a fuck what anyone else thinks. And doing this stand-up comedy helps me break from the cliche Australian rap thing now as well.
Fuck yeah, bro. Fuck yeah. Bro, so I have a question for you, bro. So we've just started doing this thing recently. I say like recently because we've done it with just one guest, our last guest. So if you don't want to do it, like, don't feel pressured, you're all good. But we get, because Ray is an artist and a sick guitar player as well, like, we get him on the couch next year and give you a little riff to freestyle to or something, bro. Would you be keen to do something like that? It doesn't. It could be like a written or something if you've got it as well.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it first.
Yeah, fucking oath. Yeah, beautiful. So I reckon keep it recording, Ray, and we'll just naturally come on and shit.
Okay. Yeah, what do you have in mind?
What do you have in mind?
Yeah.
He's the one freestyle. Both of you just freestyle, huh?
Yeah. No, I can't freestyle for shit.
Yeah, if you just play a riff, right?
So,
Hey, come back and I start to say, could ask for the guitar, but this you pass us straight down at Marshall Street before we blast, but wouldn't ask for the last receipt. Man, I'm starting to get parched, and so I drink the water, spit but give it up, and then I shift the order. Chilling up, but you could play another string though. I still gonna kill it when I hit it with that quick flow. Yeah, walking up the street on my tiptoes. Yo, fucking kick those, but it gets switched, bro. Yo, back and even spitting while I'm talking and yarning in a podcast, but I'm past when I'm still losing it. Taking it back, but maybe about as dope as the music is. I could choose to spit, but I know that I fucking know most of the news is shit. Yeah, fucking news to spit coming through. Yeah, spitting on some lucid shit. Fucking that's what we do. Just get it in the mood. Still I kill it with the tune. Yo, up with the pen. It's that vape though. I got that great flow. I ain't no scapegoat. Yo, fucking, and they kill it with the large light. Full circle, yeah, got them bars tight. Yeah.
Time, cunt. Fucking oath.
Cheers, guys.
Bro, that was sick.
Awesome,
that was
man.
sick,
Thanks
bro.
heaps for doing that, man. That was awesome.
Hell yeah. That was
Gursky on the camera.
wasn't on camera.
Fucking oath.
Thanks as well, Ray, bro.
That's all,
cool.
bro.
That's per usual, mate.
Fucking oath.
I'll just send you my invoice and
Yeah, all good, bro.
This is our longest one yet. Feel free to keep going.
Yeah. We'll go for. I reckon we'll go for another 15 minutes or so. Yeah, beauty.
Anything you want to touch on, Mike?
Anything you got going on that you want to make sure we bring up?
No, it's good, man. I'm just on the lurk. I'm on the journey.
What's next? Because I know you said you're doing a lot of travels and stuff. I've seen you been posting about.
I just turned 30. I mean, I'm 33, and everything in my life is at a good point. It's like it's all kind of summed up, and all the doors have shut that kind of led up to my 33rd year. And I definitely have a different understanding of myself and understanding of the world around me now. And so I'm just going with the wind, really.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
And it's the beauty is I've learnt so much in my journeys to understand this country. Because a big part of this country, I think, is the system, how it all started. Being in prison in Tasmania was very interesting. The lunch bell in the minimum prison is the same lunch bell that they had in Port Arthur.
Wow.
So, you know, and like... Yeah. And I'm sitting there with my mates that have been incarcerated every generation since 1820 when their convict ancestors got sent out.
Yeah, well.
Eating lunch to the same bell, you know, and so I really got to have a deep understanding and perspective of, that side of Australia, you know, and then through the recent time that I've done working up in the detention centre in Darwin, and Darwin's a very different place to Tassie. The colonisation was very different, 100 years later, and even then the population up there is very small. Yeah. There's a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn from up there, that in ways that like there's still, different energies functioning within the community. Whereas Tasmania's got a lot of pain still bouncing around it, which is a big part of what I want to figure out as I get older, is to kind of help heal the world around me and what I grew up in, And Tasmania's a beautiful place, but it's got a very interesting dark side, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's still just some of the most crazy debaucherous shit happening down there that you'd think as the world kind of like comes to the light that shit would change, but there needs to be some
it's still
deep...
the same over there sort of thing. Nothing's happened to make it change or anything.
Generational pain is an interesting one, you
Definitely,
know what I mean?
Bro, yeah.
And Tassie, I see it like, because it's on an island too, it's like a room that someone's got a bouncy ball and they've bounced it inside and it's going bang, 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 bang. Yeah. And it can't leave, and it needs to be healed from the roots down before, because every generation that grows up and it get a chance of outdoing it, And it's evolved a lot in a long time, like, 40 years down there was a different place in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So, my journey, it's crazy, and this is a bit of a yarn, is to really understand humans on this country, understand and learn as much as I can about the country. And because I feel a big part of the disconnection in our country is through a lot of healing that hasn't happened due to understanding, not acknowledging it,
Of course.
And we as a country need to have a collective experience for that to change.
And that's only even started happening like recently in the last 10 years in the tiniest bit, even the
100%,
smallest microest bit, you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, yeah, definitely.
It's in the cities that where you don't see it,
Yeah.
But I'm very lucky enough to have some of the experiences that I've had that I feel are pushing me in the right direction to kind of try and continue to learn the best way, and then somehow try and use what I can do with empowerment through hip hop to kind of uplift communities. Because
do you feel like this is always what it was leading up to for you? Was this sort of side of the journey?
Yeah, it was all, man. Like for me, hip hop came from feeling lonely, wanting a sense of family and people to like me, and then like I filled the void of trying to get famous. Because that's what, everyone does when they want people to like them. They're like, oh, these things will make me happy. Yeah. They never do. Yeah. And, and I think I know people on the bottom of the scale of fame to the top. And it's the same ceiling effect. Doesn't matter where you are. And so for me, it's really about healing. And because hip hop has been the journey that's helped me educate myself enough to articulate my emotions, to be self-aware. And so I think that's the key of healing for anyone. Yeah, therapy is learning all these techniques so you can articulate. You can articulate how you feel to help manage it better.
Most definitely.
So hip hop has, through some of the people like Fatty Few, Tons, guys like that who have been mentors through hip hop and using it as a medium to connect with me and help me learn. I want to try and do that for the community around me. So not only do I have a better sense of family and community around me, that other people can learn from it too. And
beautiful, bro.
Yeah, music I think is the strongest part of culture. You know what I mean? It's what brings us all together. It's why we're here now.
Well, that's why we call it the Kulture Show, bro. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're all about bringing it together. Yeah.
Music and dance, I feel like, is just it's what brings every culture. You see a splash of that in every single culture. It's just what it goes from telling stories to expressing feelings to everything. It's just it's such a
100%. You even like saw stories in song, like in like cave paintings and hieroglyphics and shit like that. You know what I mean?
So
like,
long.
And in Western culture, where like we all live, it's very multicultural. So your average Western cultural person doesn't have any cultural ceremony or rituals that they go through. For example, like you got people that when their kids grow into teenagehood, they have ceremony for like allowing their child spirit to die.
Wow.
And then you don't get depressed teenagers in their culture because they've let that spirit die and they move on with it. And then you look at our culture, depressed teenagers, no cultural process for spiritually growing as into a teenager. What do you have? Emo music. It saves them. You know what I mean? Like that's our cultural. Like I watched that happen in Australian hip hop. In Australian hip hop, all these like young white fellas that have no fucking cultural way for processing their emotions or becoming a man, no men's business, no anything like that. And they're just like, I'm 17, what do I do? And then they hear a sad boy rapper and they're like, oh, well, Xanax. You know what I mean? Like, and then they fuck their whole life, Cause and their mums, I'd see their mums in the shops and their mums would be like, really? You're a rapper, they're listening to the rappers, why don't they listen to you? And I'm like, because I'm not feeding into that narrative. And I'm not, enabling them to just go, I'm encouraging them to find a cultural practice of some sort to help them grow, which, for white fellas is a hobby. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to fucking paint some model trains, and that's what we got.
Those little like magnified glass, little like soldiers that you got to paint. Let's go.
There is one thing that I want to ask, sort of thing, like before we wrap it up. But like, if you got any message to the youth, I guess, upcoming artists, comedics, I guess, anyone that just what a message you want to leave from the Kulture Show.
Just be yourself, and it doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Yeah, fucking
perfect. That's really all it is.
Yeah,
leave the world a better place. Fucking make someone smile.
100%, bro.
Yarn. Be weird, man.
Yeah, fucking bro.
The world's too weird to not be weird. Just
what is normal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, lap it up,
normal
man.
is weird.
Neurodiversity.
That's
it. And just embrace it.
Yeah.
Try and love it.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's too much pain in the world. That's the main thing. And it's, especially in hip hop and the culture, we're all branches on a tree, and no branches fight with each other, We have to find a way to navigate that and water the tree.
100%, bro. 100%. 100%. We might end it there, bro, because otherwise, as you said, bro, we could go for fucking ever. But as Liam said, bro, and as he was talking about before, we love giving our roses here at Kulture Show, while the people are still here. Do you know what I mean, bro? So, bro, we just want to thank you while you're here in person for everything you've done for the scene, for everything you played your part in and can continue doing for the scene, bro. And we love you, bro, and we respect you, bro, and we can't wait to see what you do, man. And we'll definitely see you this Saturday, too, at your comedy gig, bro.
Man. I'm keen to see what you guys reckon. Thank you so much.
Culture Show, bro.
And keep going, you guys. This is what it's about. Culture's such an interesting thing, and we can't control it. All we can do is contribute.
100%, bro, and that's all we're here for. You know what I mean? And thank you for playing your part even in this as well, bro. We appreciate that so much.
More than welcome.
And we appreciate you guys watching another episode as well.
Hit subscribe.
See you another fortnight. Remember to subscribe. We always forget to tell people that.
Bro,
it has been Nate Six, LB, Ray Pelka, and the one and only Greeley. Take it easy, fam. Peace. Fucking